part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And as always, we can't start this without giving some love, a pat on the back, a tip of the cap, 2 thumbs up, all that to our fantastic producer, Ty Courts, who makes sure these 2 old guys who are technologically challenged get this podcast out to you so you can listen to it wherever you get your podcast, hopefully on the Press Play Podcast Network. Right, Michael Reghi?
To say the least. Yeah. In fact, for the last about 7 minutes, Ty and I have been discussing all the technological world with our podcast, Kenny. So absolutely, he's the man that makes it go, and we give big kudos to Ty Courts.
Yeah, it only took me 15 minutes to get into this Zoom meeting to tape this podcast, but we're here now, and we're ready to rock and roll on the R&R podcast and talk about a thrilling, a stunning, a much needed, a statement win by the Cleveland Browns today, 33-31 over the Ratbirds of Baltimore in Maryland today, Michael Reghi. And boy, the way this thing started, I didn't have any clue that it could end the way it did, but give them credit, the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson, and everybody on that roster today, a ton of credit for rallying back from 14 down, 15 down, 14 down again, and getting the victory today.
A world of credit. And Kenny, I got to tell you, I went back and tried to flip through the mind's eye and watched it again after it ended. And look, man, I believe this is one of the most impressive and hopefully impactful wins against a division opponent. And as you said, a division opponent in their yard in Baltimore. We don't even need to go into the numbers because we know they're ugly, right?
Right.
Down through the course of AFC North play. So to me, I mean, if the Browns got to be able to use this as a catalyst in the second half of the football season, Ken, to go forward with a bullet and really take care of business, because if they don't, I think they're wasting a tremendous position they put themselves in. So, I don't even know where you begin to quantify. It is huge, H-U-G-E, enormous, with all the capital letters with it. And again, we'll discuss how they got it done. But, Kenny, I'm already thinking about, don't turn around and then let this mean nothing. So right. I hope that that's the case for these Cleveland Browns.
Reg, second play of the game, Deshaun Watson pick 6, down 7-0, and then Keaton Mitchell turns on the afterburners for about 40 yards, 14-0 before you could blink, and it's like, oh, geez, this could get ugly. But, Michael, I remember tweeting something out at Jersey Sports Bar and Cafe out in Canton today with the Stark County Browns backers when it was 17-3. I remember tweeting out, you know what? Started to look like they were taking their foot off the gas, because you know what? They were up 45-6 in their minds right after a 28-3 win at Cleveland. And now it's 17-3 in Baltimore, and it's 45-6 in their minds. And they're thinking the game is over. And credit to the Browns, they did not quit. But also shame on the Baltimore Ravens, as John Harbaugh said after the game, shocking and frustrating that they didn't finish what they started today.
Well, you're right. I mean, first of all, and I know most of you Browns fans can't stand them and what have you. I get that. But I mean, usually, as we know, this does not happen to John Harbaugh and his football team. I mean, they take care of business. They're the top team in the AFC North, and as we discussed, they've shown that and proven that, and they sure usually don't come crashing down, especially after they've got an early 2-touchdown lead. And I mean, Ken, you mentioned the damn pick six is on the second snap of the game.
Right.
Right. And that snap and the very first snap of the game. So here the Browns are as they're starting without Jet Wilson, Tyler Conklin, right? So you don't have either one of your starting offensive tackles. And now you're down 14-0. And Kenny, hey, look, this is just this place is a house of horrors for them anyway. Can we actually expect? I know there was still 48 or 50 minutes left, but
Right.
I don't know how you could feel good, Ken, with all those things that were going on. And this football team, and it had to be their quarterback that started to pick them up by the bootstraps and say, we aren't going to go down like this. And that he did today. Deshaun Watson, Kenny, I thought he was outstanding today. I thought he was terrific after a very slow start now.
Yeah, in the second half, Reg. Yeah, I'll agree with you. In the second half, he was dog crap, Reghi. In the first half, he was 1 of 9 to start the game with a pick for 5 yards and 6 of 20 at the break, Michael Reghi.
Yeah. And then the second half, was it 16 to 16, 17 to 17?
14 of 14 is what he finished in the second half. Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So he took what was that, extremely poor first half and absolutely turned it full circle times about 3 as everything, he was connecting. He was decisive. He was getting the ball out. He was putting it on receivers if they had come free in the route they were running and giving them opportunity to grab that more yak, right? Yards after catch. So, they needed that, Kenny, and he provided it today. And again, I think about, but I think this is he start. I want to see him. I think we said this last week. I want to start see him stack up strong performance after strong performance. Right. Well, the last time out, he was very good. Remember, he was real sharp in the last in the win. And so again today, so hey, you win on the road. The second half performance was very, very good. Deshaun Watson starts stacking these up now. I mean, make this your new reality. Every Sunday or every time the Browns go out, you play well. And if he plays well, Kenny, I got a feeling this football team is going to win their fair share of games.
Yeah, Michael, they need him to. And it was almost like that ankle injury right before the end of the first half. I don't know what kind of an effect it had on him, but he played better after hurting his ankle and coming back out in the second half. And we weren't sure, is he going to play? Is it going to be PJ Walker? But no, he came out and he played his best half as a Cleveland Brown. 14 of 14, the numbers, 134 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. And he also ran for 16 yards in the second half and converted a 2-point conversion when things broke down, and he took it into the end zone. So by far his best performance, and he leads them down the field in the last 2 minutes to set up a game-winning field goal. And Michael, did you at all have the OIC factor? Dustin Hopkins misses the extra point after the Greg Newsome pick six, 31-30, and it's like, here we go again. Or were you feeling good that they might still come back and win this thing?
Well, I felt good because I think Dustin Hopkins is a damn quality field goal make guy, Kenny. I don't even really consider extra points too much because I guess maybe I should, because we just looked at them, right, as such a given.
Right.
It's shocking when any NFL kicker pulls or pushes, hooks an extra point and misses it. So he did that, but not Ken. I was had a pretty good feeling that, and especially when they made that more in 45 yards and in. Remember until they what was it? Was it that what got them about a 17-yard game? I thought on that last drive. I thought I had this written down because it was looking like it was going to be over 50, and then was it
a Ford run? Did Jerome Ford?
No, it was the throw to
Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore, yes.
Okay.
I believe if you look at it, the play-by-play sheet, I think that gained 16 or 17 yards and got them in a position where he could, certainly now it's a little bit more comfortable because it's not going to be 50 plus. But no, I felt good about the guy. I think he's a quality field goal kicker, Kenny. And I think he's got the cojones, as you'd like to say, to handle the tough situations.
He has been a godsend since they traded for him and gave up, a seventh-round pick.
Yeah.
And has nailed field goals from beyond 50 yards, inside 50. Yeah, he missed the extra point, but he redeemed himself with the game winner today. And kudos. And how about Reg? Run the ball, Stefanski. Well, he did today. Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
He looked at this and he said, okay, there's a weakness on that Baltimore defense, and we're going to run behind the right side over there with James Hudson in for DeJuan Jones, who was in for Conklin, right? Yes. And they ran to the tune of 178 yards today as a team against the Baltimore Ravens. And that kind of took some of the pressure off of Deshaun Watson and also allowed him to do a little play action and, throw the ball off the running game.
Yeah, that's big time. That's big time. The Browns are going to run the football like that because I think that adds a whole new comfortability level for Deshaun Watson. And I think we're seeing today, Kenny, and I think we're going to see in this second half of the regular season. Notice how I say that, making off like the playoffs are a given. He says confidently.
Right.
David Njoku, man, get him the football more. You gotta target him 10, 12 times a game. No more of these, slow starts or not getting them involved until the, second quarter or second half. This guy is going to make plays for you. He dropped that first ball to him today.
Right.
And you saw the look on his face. It's almost like he's looking at his hands and like, did I just do that? And then, but I have a great deal of confidence in him. And Kenny, how about how hard that he makes things on, whether it's corners, safeties, linebackers, whoever is, he then bullies them after he makes a catch, right? So I want to see them just start targeting him more, really. You got to find ways to get Elijah Moore. I get it, as we said, more involved. But, make sure David Njoku's getting his catches.
Yeah, those were the three top targets today. Cooper had 9 targets, caught 6. And Njoku had 9 targets, caught 6. And Elijah Moore was 7 targets, caught 5. So they were, looking at their playmakers and saying, okay, who can we, get the ball to that will make plays for us, and they did. And so they were able to get it done. And I'm looking at the play-by-play, Reg, on that last drive that got them down to the 21-yard line. It was Jerome Ford, who had a 12-yard run that got it down from the 39 to the 27.
That's the play I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because again, so 39, let's say that passes it complete.
Right.
You always add 17 yards to it. So you were looking at a 56-yard field goal attempt.
Right. Now, he could make it, as we've seen, but it just makes it so much tougher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But but again, Deshaun Watson came up big in the second half today. And, you kind of, the Browns defense has been so good, you kind of almost like stare and shake your head when, Baltimore was doing things offensively today. And I know that's going to happen, especially there in their place. But so today it was almost like the defense, Kenny, wasn't the primary factor in putting together the unit that was going to, be the key for the win. So it's great to see the offense pick it up and really do things. Because, Ken, they were, remember, it was 31-17, man, in the fourth quarter. They were down 2 touchdowns.
Right.
And so now, you got to get your offensive game firing real well, and that they did. So I was pretty impressed today, as we know. They don't usually win games like that in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. right?
Michael,
They just don't.
They overcame a pick six on the second play, a missed extra point late in the game, and a Deshaun Watson fumble late in the game that usually bounces the other way, but Wyatt Teller falls on it to maintain possession, which eventually leads to that game-winning field goal. So those are OIC only in Cleveland. Usually those things, end up spelling a 42-10 defeat, and yet they were able to overcome all of that. Down 14 points at 14-0, 17-3, down 15 points at 24-9, and down 14 points again, as you pointed out, 31-17 in the fourth quarter, and they closed the game on a 16-0 run. It was like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and KD were out there leading a 16-0 run for the Warriors back when they were good. They're not anymore because the Cavaliers just beat them for the second time this year, but back in the day, that's what it was like. So kudos to the Browns for having that mentality of not giving up, overcoming adversity, and getting the job done in a must-win situation.
Yeah, and partner, you're right. And as we said, the biggest thing now for don't just have this as a one-game feel-good deal.
Right.
That you finally were able to win there. They got to stack now. Stack what happened today and have this work in their favor and go. So what are they right now? How many games they played? 8 or 9?
9 games. They're 6-3 through 9 games. Yeah.
All right, so they got 8 to go. I mean, is 6-2 from here on in too much to ask?
Not looking at the schedule, Reg. I mean, the Jets. Houston beat Cincinnati today
did.
Cincinnati.
Yep.
C.J. Stroud lighting it up, man. You talk about rookie of the year, possibilities. Forget rookie of the year. This guy's, making a name for himself in his rookie year as maybe an all-pro candidate in his first year at quarterback, setting all kind of rookie records. So Cincinnati loses. You got Chicago you can beat. Jacksonville got smoked by San Fran today. The Rams stink this year. So, 6-2 the rest of the way, Michael, that's very doable.
Well, then if, they go ahead and do that 6-2, then I think they're going to like, where they will be when the playoffs begin. So, again, let's hope today puts them in position to do just that and makes them understand, have that confidence. Go into everybody. You're on the road or here at home, doesn't matter. Go into every game, think that you're going to control the football game and, put your foot on people's throats. I'd like to see them develop that kind of mentality.
How about this week coming up, Reg? I know we're just, breaking down the 33-31 win over Baltimore at Baltimore, but Thursday night, maybe after it's 17-3, the Ravens started focusing on the Bengals, and maybe the Bengals were already focusing on the Ravens because they saw Houston coming in today, because the Thursday night game is, the Ravens and the Bengals playing, and then the Browns on Sunday host the Steelers. So this is going to be a huge week as far as the AFC North Division rankings go. You're
right. And I think, and again, I know there's still 7-8 football games left after this week coming up. But Kenny, I just think the winners of those 2 games you just mentioned are going to put themselves in a real good position because, we can use the old adage, those division wins, they kind of count like 2, right?
Yep.
They count like 2. So the winners this week of those 2 games that Kenny just mentioned are going to put themselves in a very strong position as we start the playoff posture and go deeper into November and then December before the real season begins when those playoffs start after the first of the year.
AFC North standings right now. Baltimore 7-3 in first place by a half game over Pittsburgh and Cleveland. They're both 6-3 as they meet on Sunday. Cincinnati 5-4 divisional games. Baltimore 2-2. Browns 2-2 in the division. Steelers 2-0. And the Bengals 0-2. The Steelers, by the way, they must be doing it with smoke and mirrors, a trap door, an escape hatch, airbags, pulling rabbits out of their hat. I don't know how the hell they got no offense whatsoever, right? The defense is pretty good, and yet here they are, and I'm ready to fire Mike Tomlin every year. And
you are.
I'm just the Browns. You talk about a payback game. If this isn't a payback game Sunday, for the Browns for what happened earlier in Pittsburgh this year, I don't know what would define a payback game, because there was no way the Browns should have lost that game in Pittsburgh. And so this is one that the Browns need to definitely go out and just leave no doubt in anybody's mind. And if they get up on the Steelers, who can't score, hardly at all, they need to blow them out, put up 40 points on them and make no mistake about who the better team is.
Well, how about this? You'll get a kick out of this one.
All right.
So Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are doing the Lions Chargers today.
Okay.
That was a 4:00 start, so I'm watching. And, now that went the Lions, on the road. And, they're 7-2 now. And so they another big win for them is they got into a shootout and still got it done and beat the LA Chargers. So now in the fourth quarter, Nantz and Romo start talking about, you ready for this?
What?
The potential of a Cleveland Browns Detroit Lions Super Bowl. Kenny, I kid you not.
Oh, my.
And Romo, he's doing these little words, but he said, Jim, this is serious. This can happen. These two are the two best teams right now, he's saying.
Wow.
And so they're talking about, so two of the originals from the NFL, as we know, two teams that went, forget years,
right,
decades without going to the playoffs, right? And neither one of them has won the big prize, right? So, in the Super Bowl era, correct? So, they're talking about that. Romo's like, it can happen, Jim. Cleveland, Detroit, it'd be great for the NFL.
Reg, I'm looking at the odds right now. You ready?
Yeah.
The Lions to win the Super Bowl are plus 1,100. Okay.
Yeah.
The Browns are plus 2,500.
I
somewhere in one of my apps here, as soon as we're done, I'm going to try and find it. I forget about winning it. I just want to find if I can bet on Lions versus Browns in the Super Bowl and see what kind of odds I can get for that one, because you're right. Neither have ever won the Super Bowl. Hell, neither have ever been to a Super Bowl. They're two of the four teams that have never even been there.
Yes, sir. That's right. And again, two of the, the original,
right.
Going back now to the 50s NFL franchises that, that are, storied franchises in the league.
Right.
And he said, well, I consider storied. Well, I get it, but maybe I just mean they both been around a hell of a long time. So, sign me up. It'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
All right, I'm checking my second app here. All right, my first app didn't offer that, Reg. All right, so now I got 6 of them to get to here, Reg. So let me see here. Futures, here we go. This is my Barstool app that I'm on now. Super Bowl winner, let's see. Lions, they're only plus 1,000, so odds aren't as good there. And Browns are still plus 2,500. I can't. I got season wins. I got futures. I don't have Super Bowl matchup yet. So tonight, tomorrow, I'm going to find that Super Bowl matchup and put $5 down on whatever those odds are to see what happens.
Absolutely. Could bring you a fortune. And I'm going to take a look at those, those win totals for both of them too, and see maybe if there's a couple of shekels to maybe be won there. So
how about this?
Hey, listen, again, for two cities like that have been, kind of, go a long way through winning seasons and making their fan bases feel good. I mean, that'd be wild. And again, it made me laugh today when Nantz and Romo started talking about it. Why not, Jim? It'd be great.
I do have this, Reg, and I bet this September 13th at 3:47 p.m. Okay. Mm-hmm. I bet this back on that date. $6 at plus 450. Browns to reach the AFC Championship game. I bet that back on September 13th.
September 13th. That was after the first game of the year, correct?
Yeah. So $6 to win 33 if they just get to the AFC Championship game.
Good for you, man. That's a good play.
And how about me learning about gambling today, right? I look at today's game before it starts. You know what? Let's get a break in, and then I'll share with you my gambling exploits from earlier today, how I turned a negative like the Browns, slow start, right, into a positive, all right? When we come back here on the R&R podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park, I'll tell you all about that, and we'll look ahead to next week as well as the rest of the NFL, so stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, the Roadman, Kenny Roda here for the Reghi and Roda podcast and Northfield Park. Got to tell you all about them. They're your home for live and simulcast racing. Live racing in November is every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. That's right, 4 days a week. First post is 6 p.m. right there. And check this out, Monday, November 13th, Pigskins and Ponies promotion. That's right. Guests will correctly guess the winning horse of races 3 through 12 and then correctly guess 4 scenarios from Monday night's football game. Chance to win some prizes that way. Also on Monday, November 13th, and a tip of the cap and a salute to them. They will be honoring all veterans with a free live racing program at Northfield Park. And then on Thursday, Aaron Lewis Acoustic will be playing at the center stage beginning at 7:30 p.m. And Saturday, November 18th, the OJs, last stop on the Love Train, will be performing beginning at 8 p.m. All this happening at Northfield Park.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue with this edition of the Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And Michael, as we went to break there, I was telling you or teasing a little bit about my gambling exploits. So here's my thinking before the game starts today, Browns and Ravens. Left tackle's out, right tackle's out. Deshaun Watson, not 100%. I'm looking at this game. It's on the road. Baltimore had beat Cleveland 28-3. 6.5 was the spread. I said, you know what? Browns can't win this game. There's no way they can win this game. Minus 6.5. Hell, I wasn't even worried about the 6.5. I'm thinking Baltimore's winning by double digits, right? So I took Baltimore minus 6.5, and I tried to parlay that in with a Lamar Jackson touchdown run, right? To throw $5-10 down and get some really good odds on an anytime touchdown by Lamar Jackson. So game starts off, boom, second play, 7-0. I'm like, yep, there you go. 14-0. Yep, there you go. Now all I need is Lamar to score a touchdown. I'll cover the points. Baltimore wins this thing, no problem. Then all of a sudden, when I sent that tweet out that we talked about earlier in the podcast about how it looked like Baltimore was taking their foot off the gas, I said, you know what? I just might want to hedge this a little bit, right? I might want to cover my ass by let me see what odds I can get on the Browns coming back and winning this thing, right? So I took $5 And I think I got plus 280 on the Browns when they were down 14, coming back to win the game. I said, why not? Okay. This way, if the Ravens hold on and Lamar gets the touchdown, I'll make up that $5, no problem with that win. But should the Browns come back, I need to make up what I put down before the game. So I
hedging now during games.
Absolutely, Brad. You can do it on every play if you want to now, right?
I'm well aware, buddy.
Yeah. So I'm looking. I'm going to do that. I've never hedged before, right? JT, my partner on the Kenny and JT show, HBC in Canton, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. He taught me all about this hedging.
He's into it, isn't he?
He used to be. He's not anymore because of what happened before, right?
Okay,
He's telling me you don't get caught up in this, but you can hedge and cover yourself that way. And I'm like, all right. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'm going to hedge for the first time today. So I hedged, Reg, and it came back and helped me out. I ended up plus $10 for the day because I hedged on the Browns coming back to win the game. How about that?
Got to say it was a good day, as Ice Cube was for you, Kenny Roda, if you came up. Listen, man, anytime when you're you're playing and you got action going, anytime you're plus, it's a good day. I mean, it's a good day. It's that hard to do with regularity, right? So you've had a couple of good days. I hope they keep coming for you, man. And I will keep having fun listening to what you're doing with what you're playing.
Reg, no way Cincy loses to Houston and the Ravens lose to the Browns today. And yet Cincinnati lost to Houston and Baltimore lost to Cleveland today.
Yeah,
and
I get it. I get it.
It's mind-boggling to me, Reg. It's like you think and there's no such thing as a sure thing. Sure there is. The Ravens today, that was a sure thing. Even if you're doing the money line, that's up 17-3. They're up after OBJ, our old friend, Odell Beckham Jr. goes 40 yards for a score. They're up 24-9 in the third with an injured Deshaun Watson. That game's over. No, it's not. No. And that's, as I'm learning in this, now that gambling is legal in Ohio and at Bushwood Country Club, I'm learning there ain't a sure thing ever in sports betting.
No, there isn't, pal. And you know where they really get you is, I think you and I have talked about this before, but what most of those that, when they start to gamble, will you take the favorite, right?
Right.
And that's great, except you see there's this thing called the damn point spread that's attached to it. So, Baltimore going to beat Cleveland at home. Well, let's see. They've done it 22 of the last 25 times, right? So, let me do that. But here's the problem. They attach the points to it. And even if you bet Baltimore today on the money line, which means no points, I mean, what was it? They weren't getting even money back, were they, on the money line? I can't imagine.
Oh, gosh, no. Heck,
you'd have had to, let's say, if you wanted to win 40, I bet you'd have to put up 100 today on the money line.
Right.
Somewhere in there.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, there's where, and then when that goes kaput, you see. So you had Baltimore today. Let's just say that's what it was. I don't know, but I bet you that was in the neighborhood.
Right.
Put up $100, you win 40. Just win the game, Baltimore. Win the game.
That's it.
And most, novices or are just, hey, that's the thing. When you bet favorites and it can crush you, Ken. It can just crush you when they don't come in.
Reg, no way Pittsburgh should have beat Cleveland. Cleveland shouldn't have beat San Fran, and Cleveland shouldn't have beat Baltimore. And yet those three games and those results happened this year. And that's why you just sit here and you think you do the research, you dive into the numbers, right? You look at trends, you look at injuries, you look at Mother Nature, the time of the game, the travel and all that, and you think but you don't. And that's why they always say Vegas wasn't built on winners. And that's what I'm starting to find out. So I'm thrilled. I'm a plus 10 and I'm done for the day. I'm not chasing anything else with basketball or the late game or anything like that. I'm done for the week. I'll wait till next weekend. All right.
Good to hear. You take that $10 and that's right. You go in the next week and say, I'm playing with their money starting this next time you lay a play down.
All right, let me see if I can get a line on next week's game already. I don't know if they have them out yet, Reg. Let me see here, because I'm already.
They're up, and I mean, I guarantee they're on every board in every casino in Vegas.
All right, here we go.
At every sports book for next week.
I learned to hedge today, so I'm using the word hedge a lot now. I learned to use the word lean, right? I'm leaning one way or the other. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm already leaning without knowing what the spread is. I'm leaning towards the Brown big time next week, okay? Against the Steelers. All right, here we go. Let's see here. See if I can find this.
But now, so I bet I'm going to say it's Pittsburgh. Don't tell me. Okay. I'm going to say Pittsburgh -2.
No, Browns are favored because it's in Cleveland. All right.
Oh, wait a minute. Why was I thinking it's in Pittsburgh?
No, this one's in Cleveland. There you go.
So you're right. Yeah.
So My bad. You get 3 usually for home field, right, Reg?
Usually that's kind of the general rule.
Oh, yeah. I'm jumping on. I'm betting right now. Red, I ain't even waiting. All right. Browns -3.5. Browns -3.5.
So what they're telling you is it's a pick'em game, and the Browns are at home, so there's your field goal.
There's my bet. Okay, how much do I want to put down on here? All right, let's do that amount right here. Throw that down, and let's see. Okay, placed my bet already. I took the Browns -3.5 at -115, so I had to bet a little bit more than I wanted to, right, to win a few bucks. Yeah. But there ain't no way. No way, and I know I already explained these other games happened earlier this year. Ain't no way Browns don't win this thing by more than 4 points. Sorry, ain't happening. No chance, none whatsoever. So there you go. And I figured I'd grab it now because I think the money's going to come in on Cleveland, and that line's going to go up, and the Steelers are going to get more points.
Absolutely, it's going to go. I'd say it'll go up at least 1.5 points this week.
Yes, I think it'll be.
Time.
Maybe 2. I think it's at 5 by kickoff next week. Right?
Very well.
Browns favored by at least 5 by kickoff.
Sure. Yeah. So if you feel that way and you feel that strongly about the Browns, then you're doing the right thing, playing it now, because as each day goes by, that line it's going to jump up 1.5, maybe 2, maybe 2.5. Who knows?
All right. Let me see if I want. How about if I Reg? How about this parlay? You ready? Browns -3.5, and the under is 38.5. I get plus 257 on that if I want to do the parlay. That's not bad.
There's a lot of you can buy UY half points.
I
or
do.
Point. Hell, so you can buy 2 points if you want. So you could make that like the Browns at Pick'em just to win the game. Now you'd have to buy that. But, I mean, those are all things you can play around with if you want, because it sounds to me like my partner is he's rolling in the deep now.
I'm learning, Rich. Hey, you can't win if you don't play. And if you don't play, you don't learn. That's what I'm trying to take advantage of here with all this. Me and Judge Smales, we want to.
There it is. Yeah, there you go.
How about a Fresca? Mr. Scholarship winner. It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat. But a man worthwhile is a man who can smile when his shorts are too tight in the seat. Okay, Pookie, go ahead. Yeah,
well done.
In honor of Judge Smales, I've already placed my bet right there.
Good man. All right. Well, listen, you can you got a big talking point all week long on the Kenny and JT show, and who knows, you may be adding to that by the time you got 7 days before you can make more plays with that.
I may do that if I feel that confident about it, Reg. All right. So we mentioned the division, right?
Yeah.
Baltimore at 7-3, Pittsburgh, Cleveland 6-3, Cincinnati 5-4. Is this from top to bottom the best division in football?
I think so.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I do. Again, I mean, because I think you got, we're halfway through the season. You got 4 quality football teams that you can make a case, and it isn't too hard to do that. Every one of them is a legitimate playoff team. And so to me, when you got 4 teams in a division that are it's a damn tough division. And remember, unless you're playing those 3 others twice
Right.
So the the chances, odds, as we're talking, of sweeping the teams and going 2-0, not real good. Not real good when you got a division like this. It
And
can
Reg,
happen once in a while, but
yeah.
Kenny, remember we always talked about, we'd say, man, you got to be able to go 4-2. Remember for the Browns, we used to talk about that on our show a lot. Man, you got to find a way to go 4-2 in those 6 games against Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincy. And but that's easier said than done. This is a damn good division.
I'm looking at the Ravens schedule right now because Cleveland's somewhat favorable. Okay.
Very. I think it's very favorable. Yeah.
Here we go. Ravens, Cincinnati, Chargers, go.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati on the road in LA, home against the Rams, on the road in Jacksonville, on the road at San Fran, Miami at home, and then Baltimore closes out on the road at Pittsburgh the final week. The Browns close out the final week at Cincinnati. So this division may come down to Sunday, January 7th, with 2 AFC North games. Baltimore, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. Baltimore is home against Pittsburgh on January 7th. The Browns are on the road at Cincinnati on January 7th. That may determine who wins the division and how many wild cards come from the AFC North.
Well, I think if you win 12, you'll definitely win the division. Hell, 11 might win the division. Right now, Baltimore's got 7 wins, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so, as you said, they got their schedule's a little tough. But to me, if you get to 12, you're going to win the division. You might do it with 11. So, this is, as I said, to me, because you got to play all these adversaries in your own division twice, it makes it much tougher.
Who, in your opinion, through 9 and 10 games, is the best team in the division right now?
Baltimore.
You still think so? See, I'm scared if it's a playoff game and Lamar has to throw the football, and he let the Browns back in with 2 terrible throws today. I'm still not a believer in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, well, again, but that's a different question than you asked me.
Right. Okay.
You said who's the best team in the division right now? Well, to me, Baltimore is.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you on what you just said about what we've seen happen to Lamar Jackson at playoff time. That's point well taken. That's true. I do believe they're the best team at the moment, but that guarantees nothing. Quite frankly, they got to continue to. Although, again, I expect them to be at the top of this division when the playoffs roll around, and then we'll see, as we were saying, can Lamar Jackson turn his playoff tale of woe into something much better? They're going to need it. Again, we talk about quarterback play right all the time, like with Deshaun Watson today. Well, Kenny, I mean, if your quarterback goes south on you during the playoffs, you're not winning nothing. And which has happened to Lamar Jackson, correct? So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, if the Browns beat the Steelers, and that's 2 wins in a row in the division, back-to-back weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rich, I think they put themselves in a great position, especially if the Bengals are able to beat Baltimore and it's a 2-game losing streak. And Reg, we often see teams coming off winning streaks. They don't just lose 1, right? They lose 1 or 2, maybe even 3. Look at San Francisco when the Browns snapped their skid, right? So I could see Baltimore losing against Cincinnati this week. Browns then would be 7-3. Baltimore would be 7-4. Browns are in first place and have a better division record. I think if the Browns beat Pittsburgh, they got a great shot at winning the division based on the schedule.
Yeah,
and
it's
that
there
last
for
game.
them.
Yeah, that last game at Cincinnati.
Absolutely, it's there for them to do, and I think it's going to tell us a lot about them. Because they're missing some key components. I mean, but they were able to get around that today. I just Hey, as we said, a lot of this is going to center on Deshaun Watson, right? He continues to play like he did in the second half today. I think the Browns will be just fine.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and the Browns are going to be in the thick of it. And that is all because of the win earlier today, as we're taping this on a Sunday night, 33-31 over the Baltimore Ravens. Come from behind fashion, down double digits multiple times, 14 in the fourth quarter, and they win it. And, let's give some love to Miles Garrett. A sack and a half today, Michael, in that fourth quarter. He was a stud. 11 sacks on the season. I think that's 6 years in a row with 10 or more sacks. And he just keeps racking up the numbers. So if he can be a playmaker on the defensive side the rest of the way and stay healthy, and Deshaun Watson gets healthy, right, then this team's got a legitimate shot of winning this division, which would be their first division win since the late 80s and the first time they would ever have won the AFC North.
Late 80s, man. The Marty Schottenheimer, Bernie Kosar squads of that period of time, right?
Yep.
I think we all remember how much fun that was. And so you mentioned Miles Garrett too, Kenny. I think he's going to continue, and he's going to go down as one of the most dominant individual defensive players that we've had in the NFL. I really see that as being how his career continues to unfold. I mean, we're talking about the 80s, and you think back to Lawrence Taylor. Is that blasphemous that I bring up Miles Garrett got a way to go before he's LT?
2 Super Bowl wins. So I get getting after the quarterback. I get it from that standpoint.
That's why I ask you, because to me, I mean, Lawrence Taylor is the strongest individual defensive line force that we've seen in the NFL. Now, like you grew up there. Now, back in the 70s, that steel curtain of the Steelers, that defensive line, but was I think absolutely legendary. But Lawrence Taylor, I know the 85 Bears, but when you just talk about an individual, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Miles Garrett, can Miles Garrett be of that ilk? Now that to me, as I said, I ask you, that's a lot to ask. To be in the type of hallowed defensive line, quarterback disrupting ground that Lawrence Taylor was in. Well, then but there are times when that's what Miles Garrett kind of looks like to me, Kenny.
Yeah, I'll throw in the Minister of Defense, Reggie White.
Yeah, well, of course.
Since linebacker with Taylor on the D line with the Reggie, and Reggie won the 1 Super Bowl when he went to Green Bay, right?
Yep.
I see his name, Reggie and Miles, keep popping up in paragraphs online and in post-game notes and everything because the amount of sacks at whatever age they were and all that. So longevity's got to happen. Getting to a Super Bowl's got to happen. But he's doing things this year that is putting him in the conversation in a big way for Defensive Player of the Year. And when you win one of those, then you can really start talking about, how good he can be. And then, will he be the next one after Joe Thomas, right? That ends up in Canton if he continues to put up 10 sacks a year for 12 straight years or whatever it might be.
And he seems like he wants to me. I think he's a very driven defensive football player, that he wants to be looked upon that way, that he disrupts and changes a game with what he can do defensively. And when you think about it, Kenny, that there are not a lot. Think about that, because that's, when you say change the game, well, usually that's somebody that has the ability to have the football, right? Quarterback, running back, wide receiver. When you change the game defensively as an individual, to me, that's huge stuff.
All right, Reg, let's end it right there today on a positive note. Browns a winner, 33-31. I'm up $10. Miles Garrett's got 11 sacks on the year. All is well in the land of the orange and brown as they get ready now for Steelers week as they welcome Pittsburgh to Cleveland. Right now, it's a 1:00 game. Let's see if they flex that sucker. But as of the time we're recording this, it's a 1:00 kickoff at Cleveland Browns Stadium next Sunday. Should be a fun week.
No doubt about that, Roadman. And we'll break it all down and discuss it the next time we get together. It's a big one. Like to me, it means 2 football games. Win, lose, one way or the other. So we'll break it all down next time we get together.
Sounds good, Reg, and thanks once again to our producer, Ty Courts, for getting this out to everybody, and to all of our listeners. We appreciate you more than you know, and to MGM Northfield Park, the title sponsor of the Reghi Roda podcast.